in the infinite echo of creation, where gods are born in silence and titans rise from thought itself. Welcome to Mythic Universe, where the boundaries of imagination collapse and the impossible becomes inevitable. Here we do not merely tell stories, we summon them. We unearth cosmic truths buried beneath panels of fiction, breathe fire into the forgotten, and crown the worthy in the theater of divine combat. And today, we descend into a confrontation that defies scale, sanity, and fate itself. The true form of Darkseid, the final tyrant, the absolute will, the living end emerges from the throne of annihilation to confront a being with power to dismantle reality at a whim. Owen Reece, the Molecule Man, the Shattered God, the architect of all. This is not merely a battle. This is an ultimatum between freedom and finality, between the dream of choice and the dominance of order. One rewrites the universe with thought. The other is a sentence carved into the bones of destiny. And now, in a clash that could tear the Omniverse apart, we ask the only question that matters. What survives when all things break? This is True Form Darkseid versus Molecule Man. This is the clash of inevitability versus potential. This is Mythic Universe. Let the story begin. Beyond the borders of measurable cosmos, beyond the ink-soaked voids where reality bends and bleeds into dream, lies the domain of absolute powers, timeless entities for whom entire multiverses are no more significant than sand in a storm. In this meta-existential theater, two impossibilities draw near. One, a fractured man now healed, Owen Reece, the Molecule Man, a mortal reborn as a multiversal axis. The other, a concept forged at the dawn of thought itself, a tyrannical god who embodies the final denial of freedom, True Form Darkseid. The tension began when the seams of the new multiverse, rebuilt after secret wars, trembled. Franklin Richards had done his part, Owen Reece had done his duty. Yet something beyond the reach of creation stirred. An echo in the overvoid, unrecorded by cosmic arbiters or watchers, emerged. A silence, a pressure, a thought. Anti-life, not a weapon, not a virus, not even a concept in the common sense, but the answer to the question of existence. Why should there be something instead of nothing? It was the voice of Darkseid, not as the grey-skinned bruiser of Earth 2 skirmishes, but as the true form, the one who sits at the axis of fatalism, outside the multiverse, outside even hypertime, beyond source or presence. The awakening of Molecule Man. Owen Reece sensed it first not as a threat, but as a whisper. At the heart of all matter, he felt a new vibration, subtle, alien. He stood in a nexus of infinite universes, eyes glowing like bound stars, aware of every molecule in every iteration of reality. To him, creation was a canvas, but now someone was writing beneath the paint. I don't like this. Reece had changed. The shy lab tech who once couldn't control his powers had long since evolved. When the Beyonders were dismantled using his distributed essence across the multiverse, he transcended not only their design, but also their scope. He could destroy, create, rewrite, and mold. Yet something felt immutable about this vibration. It refused to be rewritten. Something isn't made of atoms, he realized. Something that shouldn't exist, but does. Because it's the reason nothing ever should have. The manifestation of Darkseid. The universe of thought matter. A plane Owen had crafted to study raw ideas. Cracked open like a skull splitting under pressure. From the fissure poured shadow. Not darkness in the absence of light sense, but a shadow that blotted out purpose. The true form of Darkseid stepped forth. Not a man, not even a god, but anti-life incarnate. His presence warped logic itself. Molecule Man tried to restructure the atoms in the space around him, but the math refused to resolve. He tried to erase Darkseid's molecular composition, but there were no molecules to grasp. Darkseid existed not as substance, but certainty. You should not be, Owen said, defiant. I am because you are, Darkseid intoned. his voice a billion collapsing suns. You rebuild, so I must break. You affirm, so I must deny. You offer freedom, so I offer truth. Owen frowned. Truth? You call anti-life truth? Darkseid's burning Omega eyes, which in his true form were vast mandalas of inevitable recursion, narrowed. Freedom is the greatest lie of creation. The illusion of choice, a veiled coping mechanism for beings who cannot accept the finality of cause and effect. What you call life is a ripple of delusion atop a sea of inevitability. Anti-life is not destruction, it is honesty. You're wrong. Every molecule I shape is a choice. Every universe I remake is an affirmation that reality is fluid, malleable, never locked. You do not choose, Darkseid said. You react. You shape because you must. You serve function. I am function's end. I am the stillness at the end of all becoming. Philosophical divide. This was no longer just a battle of power, but of ideology. Molecule Man represented potential. The belief that even the broken could become divine, that matter is only the start of meaning. His power was vast because he believed in a cosmos of reconstruction. That meaning could be written and rewritten. Darkseid represented inevitability, the death of meaning, the final gravity that even thought cannot escape. He didn't destroy randomly. He destroyed with philosophical intent to end the lie of multiplicity, to bring everything back to the absolute singularity of control. To Darkseid, Molecule Man was not a threat. He was a contradiction. You believe because you must, Darkseid said. You are afraid that without your belief in choice, all your pain would mean nothing. And you fear that meaning makes your control irrelevant, Owen shot back. You can't stand that people might matter more than the plan. Darkseid's Omega aura pulsed with a raw, ancient hate. You mistake me for a tyrant with ego. I'm not control, I'm correction. The stage is set on the edge of an unborn dimension, where conceptual forces fought to define the laws of a new universe. They stood. Owen, radiant with living mathematics, the author of Existence by Choice. Darkseid, the god that precedes definition, demanding the end of contradiction. Behind Owen, the harmonics of multiversal matter shimmered. Behind Darkseid, silence, certainty, and the unanswerable question. The molecules around them stopped moving. Time slowed, not due to speed, but because purpose hesitated. And then, a single moment of static clarity before the storm. There is no why, Owen Reece, Darkseid said. That's where you're wrong, Owen answered. There has to be. The universe held its breath. Then it collapsed into fire. The universe split in half the instant the clash began. Not from force, but from contradiction. One half moved as thought demanded, rippling and shifting under Molecule Man's will. Molecules rearranged with the ease of fingers brushing through sand. The other half stood motionless, not dead, but denied. Darkseid's influence was not chaos. It was the death of motion, the nullification of possibility. He didn't break things, he made them inevitable. Owen Reece struck first. A wave of pure matter energy surged forward, laced with the composite blueprint of 1 trillion universes. This was not an attack in the traditional sense. It was a rewrite, a shift in the conceptual foundation of the battlefield. Reece wove together elements of chemical structure, gravitational manipulation, and even narrative sequence. He bent the very idea of cause and effect, layering his will atop the unfolding present like a new skin. Darkseid walked through it. The rewrite failed, not because it was flawed, but because Darkseid refused its truth. The molecules didn't resist. Owen, they obeyed him, but when they reached Darkseid's presence, they lost definition. It was as if they had never been written, as if all the programming and command lines of physics had been deleted in real time. The Molecule Man gritted his teeth, summoning greater force. He invoked trans-dimensional resonance, pulling fragments of broken timelines into his palms and forming them into weapons of paradox. He hurled causality knives, each one capable of cutting through the laws of thermodynamics and rewriting reaching. Quantum possibility mid-flight. Darkseid caught one. He didn't deflect it. He held it, as if examining the feeble tool of a desperate craftsman. "This is not creation," he said coldly. "It is indulgence, art masquerading as agency, a child scrawling glyphs over the bones of something older." Owen twisted the field again, sending spikes of entropy that bypassed entropy. They weren't meant to destroy. They were designed to undo the need for destruction. He tried to fold Darkseid into a zone where all concepts, space, time, form, law, were equalized into an undifferentiated haze of pre-thought. The womb of uncertainty. Darkseid stepped free from it untouched. There were no molecules in his body to alter, no structure to deconstruct. Darkseid's true form was not a being in the conventional sense, but a presence, a fixed cosmic assertion. Owen was trying to alter a sentence carved into the foundation of metaphysical certainty, and that sentence read, "Darkseid is." Reece switched tactics. He shattered the pocket of reality they stood in, and expanded the battle across multiple layers of multiversal strata. In the negative zone, he split atoms into musical frequency and reconstructed them into attack choirs of explosive sound. In the white-hot room, he molded the flames of evolution itself into a tidal wave of ascending potential. Darkseid stood atop every wave. Every battlefield Owen conjured, Darkseid turned into a tomb. Not because he was stronger in the traditional sense, but because he did not change. Reece's greatest strength, his ability to shift reality's rules, meant nothing against a being who refused to participate in mutable frameworks. "You move because you fear stillness," Darkseid boomed, towering now, his shadow stretching across realities. "You change because the alternative is accountability. I am the death of change, the proof that all movement is futile." Reece clenched his fists. "You're wrong. Movement is meaning. Stasis is cowardice." And then he did the unthinkable. He touched the source. He dove deep into the undercurrent beneath all things, the realm that even beyonders feared to touch without unraveling. He fused his molecular awareness with the fundamental code of existence itself.
Every rule, every constant, every atom became his vocabulary.
He was no longer shaping the matter of the world. He was reshaping its definition. Time collapsed under the weight of his awareness. Multiple versions of Reece, young, old, broken, divine, appeared at once. All of them converged into one being. He spoke in equations. His eyes bled starlight. He aimed one final act of rewriting, not against Darkseid's body, but against the principle of his being. Reece began to unmake inevitability itself. The universe screamed. All things bent toward the change. Even Darkseid's shadow wavered, just for a moment. Possibility itself flexed. That meant that Owen had won ground, and for the first time, perhaps the only time, the equation of anti-life flickered. And yet, Darkseid's hand rose. He did not shout. He did not strike. He simply spoke. No, it was not a refusal. It was a law. The very concept of no took form, became absolute. The foundations that Molecule Man touched, hewn from freedom, from revision, from hope, were overwritten with denial. Reece's rewriting faltered. His connection to the source fractured. The universes began to crumble, not from damage, but from submission. "You sought to define truth through chaos," Darkseid said, his voice calm. "But I am the truth that exists without consent. I am what remains when choice fails. What remains is me." Reece staggered. His body flickered. Molecules unraveled, rewound, refused to obey. Not because he was weak, not because he was out of power, but because purpose failed. He looked up, eyes wide. "But I made everything better." Darkseid stepped over him. "You made everything worse," he whispered. "Because you gave them the illusion that they could matter." The battlefield collapsed. No explosion, no light, just silence. In the hollow space where potential once danced, only certainty now lingered. Darkseid stood alone. He did not gloat. He did not celebrate. He simply existed as he always had, as the final punctuation at the end of all sentences. And somewhere, buried deep in the molecular memory of the collapsing multiverse, a whisper remained: Darkseid is.